Good morning. Welcome to another session on environmental impact assessment.
So we shall begin Unit 3 now. Air quality, noise, energy, water quality, vegetation and wildlife impact. So the course outcome: apply the knowledge of the impact of infrastructure projects on air quality, water quality, vegetation and wildlife. Learning outcomes: air pollution and its impacts. So the specific outcomes, we will see the definition of air pollution, source of air pollution, classification of air pollutants. So what is pollution, right? So uh, general definition of pollution is any change in the background concentration, right? Or another definition is any substance introduced into the environment that adversely affects the usefulness of a resource, right? Or you can even say that any foreign substance that is introduced or enters the environment which adversely affects the quality of the environment, right? These are some definitions of pollution, general definitions. So pollution happens because um, no process is 100% efficient, so each process produces some sort of pollution, right? um, it's not possible to have something which is completely pollution free, right? Although there are some methodologies or some technologies are coming up with which mention that they are pollution free. We cannot wholly accept that they are 100% pollution free. They may be about 99%. Still, there is possibility of 1% of pollution. So here we are going to speak about only air pollution. So air pollution is defined as one or more contaminants or combination in such quantities and of such durations as may be or tend to be injurious to human, animals, plants, or property, or which unreasonably interferes with the comfortable enjoyment of life or property or conduct of business, right? Or to put it in another way, in a simple way, it is one or more contaminants or combination of contaminants uh, in the air which tend to be injurious to humans or animals or plants or property, right? That's a simple way of saying this whole definition. Sources and classification of air pollution. So one way to see the sources: natural sources and anthropogenic sources or man-made sources. Natural sources: pollen grains, volcanic eruptions, forest fires, dust storms, spores, bacteria, and other microorganisms. Anyway, spores, bacteria are all coming under the same category of some sort of some microorganisms. Right. Pollen grains are nothing but from the plants. There's something called the pollen grains, which is you know uh, taken up by insects and so on, right? Which is transferred to some other plants, and some sort of uh, germination process takes place. So naturally, what happens is that some of the pollen grains may get transported in the air. So this is some sort of pollution, but that is very minimal pollution when compared to forest fires and dust storms or vehicle pollutions. So these are all anyway, vehicle pollution is not a natural one. Volcanic eruptions or forest fires or dust storms, they are a major sort of pollution when compared to pollen grains and these microorganisms. Anyway, nowadays that we have some diseases spreading due to microorganisms, right? um, Man-made pollution. So here you will have this vehicular pollution, industrial units, thermal power plants, automobile exhausts, fuel burning, mining, nuclear explosions. So these are all pollutions caused by human beings or anthropogenic activities. Another way of seeing pollution is stationary and mobile, right? Stationary pollution is pollution coming from a particular location, right? For example, release of chemicals from the chimney of a power plant is a stationary pollution. But a mobile pollution is when you have a vehicle which is traveling from, say, Polachi to Coimbatore, and it is releasing a lot of exhausts into the air as it is traveling from here to Coimbatore. So that is mobile pollution, because the vehicle keeps traveling from one place to another place. Another way of classifying pollution is point source, area source, and line source, right? Point source is again, point source is emission of gases from chimneys. That's all. Point source pollution. It's a particular point and is getting released. Area source. Area source is when you are dumping a lot of waste materials on the land and then putting it to fire, right? Setting it on fire. So it is an area pollution, right? So it's a small stationary source, but it is in terms of a particular area, right? Um, Line source is mobile source with a definite routes. For example, I told about this vehicle moving, so that's a line source of pollution. So vehicle movement uh, can come under line source, and it is also a mobile source of pollution. So air toxic emissions, right? So you have some heavy duty vehicles and you have some light duty vehicles, right? So light duty vehicles, cars, they are contributing about 30% of the pollution, right? Heavy duty vehicles, gasoline vehicles 14%, heavy duty diesel vehicles 10%, right? And lightweight vehicles, they are also contributing about 44%, right? That is vans and trucks and so on. That is 44%. Light duty cars are 30%. So in this way, this is data from 2005, right? For a particular city, caused by movement of vehicles alone. So air pollutants, substances dwelling temporarily or permanently in the air, is termed as air pollutants. So they alter the environment by interfering with the health, comfort, or food chain, or by interfering with the property values of people, right? A pollutant can be solid pollutant, right, or liquid pollutant or gaseous pollutant. It may originate from the natural or anthropogenic or both, right? So substances which are dwelling in the air is a pollutant. It affects the health, comfort, food chain, right? And also it may affect the property value of people, and it may be solid, liquid, or gas, and it comes from both natural as well as anthropogenic activities. So it is estimated that anthropogenic sources have changed the composition of the global air by less than 0.01%. Even a small change, although the change is very small, even a small change can have a significant adverse effect on the climate, ecosystem, and species on the planet. Another classification of pollutants, that is classification of air pollution. This is classification of air pollutants, primary pollutants and secondary air pollutants. Primary pollutants which are emitted directly from some particular sources. Secondary air pollutants which are produced in the atmosphere when certain chemical reactions takes place among the primary pollutants. So primary pollutants interact with each other and they cause secondary air pollutants. So primary pollutants are particulate matters, sulfur dioxide, SO2, nitrogen oxides, that is nitrogen dioxide, NO2, right? Volatile organic compounds, VOCs, generally called as VOCs, volatile organic compounds, carbon monoxide, and CO, carbon monoxide, and lead, right? So these are some primary air pollutants. So primary air pollutants, we have already seen what they are. So the majority comes from carbon monoxide, right? A small percentage from nitrogen oxides, volatile organic compounds. Volatile organic compounds means compounds which tend to become vaporized. That is, it becomes vapor form, right? And sulfur dioxides or sulfur oxides, and particulate matters. Particulate matters means very fine particles, in terms of micrograms, or um, size of, so microgram size, right? um, Sorry, not micrograms, it is micrometer size, not micrograms, it is micrometer size, right? Or nanometer size, right? So it's not a weight, it's a size. So it's a nanometer size or micrometer size, right? Generally we have a particulate matter PM 2.5 and PM 10, that is 2.5 micrometer and 10 micrometer size. Where they come from? Transportation, uh, industrial processes, solid waste disposals, and stationary fuel combustions. So these are the sources from which they come, right? Uh, so here sources of pollutants created by human beings: combustion process, chemical process, nuclear or atomic processes, roasting, heating, that is again industrial processes, mining, quarrying, farming, right? So if it is natural process, they are volcanoes, breaking of seas, pollens, fire, uh, blowing dust, and bacteria and viruses. And we can see that the bacteria, viruses, blowing dust, and fire is aggravated by human activities, right? Some of the secondary air pollutants react with one another. Sorry, some of the primary air pollutants react with one another or with other chemicals to form secondary air pollutants. So here, secondary pollutants have been listed. That is SO3, HNO3, H3SO4, H2O2, O3 ozone, PAN, PANs, right? So the nitrites, NO3, and sulfates are all mostly salts, right? So those are secondary air pollutants which are formed by combination of some of the primary air pollutants. So atmospheric sulfuric acid is one example of secondary air pollutant, and air pollution in industrial areas is often called as smog. That is smoke plus fog uh, forms something called smog, right? Photochemical smog, a noxious mixture of gases and particulates, is produced when strong sunlight triggers photochemical reactions in the atmosphere. The major component of photochemical smog is ozone, right? So we end this session here. Thank you.
Thus, we come to the end of this session. Thank you for your participation. Looking forward to meeting you in the next session.